Rafael Alvarado was a well-known and very wealthy businessman owning a chain of hotels. A young and extremely attractive bachelor of about 35, he graced the covers of popular magazines. Many socialites dreamed of him and did everything they could to win Rafael's favor, but he seemed to think only about work. He rarely attended any events, mostly focusing on his business. Each year he increased his capital, becoming an even more desirable catch. Rafael was perfectly content with his situation. He lived in spacious apartments on the top floor of a massive penthouse in the city center, where an elderly maid cleaned every day. She did the laundry, cooked excellent meals, and took care of the everyday needs of the wealthy businessman. When he returned from work, he would sit in his favorite chair by a wall-sized window, enjoying drinks while watching the evening city lights. Additionally, Rafael often read books in the evenings, a secret passion he never mentioned in interviews. The businessman believed that it was books that made him who he was, because the stories he devoured as a child inspired him to dream bigger. Rafael came from a rather poor family with 2 sisters and a younger brother. However, his love for adventure novels fostered a passion for travel. He embarked on his first journey at the age of 14. He hitchhiked with his best school friend to a neighboring city. They stayed overnight in one of the most modest hotels on the outskirts of the city, and it was then that Rafael realized how wonderful it was that there were hotels where travelers could rest from their adventures. That was when he started imagining his own hotel projects. In his mind, he designed various hotels. One was to be located in a massive tree, another in a mountain, and a third underground. He even imagined his own space hotels that could host tourists on Mars. Rafael didn't stop there and asked his mother to buy him a sketchbook where he began drawing his projects. He kept the sketchbook carefully in his desk drawer, showing it only to his best friends, who admired his imagination. Finally, Rafael had the opportunity to share his ideas at a school conference. The teachers and the school principal appreciated the boy's project and advised him to pursue a career in design and architecture. The boy was very grateful to them and started preparing to enter university. None of his family believed he could make his plan a reality and get a scholarship. But Rafael worked diligently, often staying up late with his textbooks. When his friends knocked on the door with a soccer ball in hand, the boy would just shake his head and return to his books and notebooks. From books, Rafael already knew that only perseverance and determination would help him achieve his goal. And indeed, he succeeded. He was admitted to the architecture university in the design faculty. His parents couldn't believe it for a long time, but they were very happy and proud of their son. Rafael threw himself into his studies. It was then that he met Ismira, a beautiful tall girl with blonde hair. She seemed like a gray-eyed angel to him, and Rafael fell madly in love with her. With his scholarship money, he bought flowers, chocolates, and took Ismira to the cinema and theater. The girl condescendingly accepted his courtship. She came from a very wealthy family and studied in the paid department. Rafael completely lost his head and even forgot about his studies for a while. However, for Ismira, his love was just a game. When she grew tired of pretending, she stopped answering his calls and started dating one of the most popular guys in the faculty, a rich and arrogant macho who was the object of many girls' dreams. Rafael's heart was broken, and he vowed to do everything possible to become rich and prove Ismira wrong. "I swear she'll regret it when she finds out how great I am," he said to his best friend, who also studied on a scholarship like Rafael. His friend just nodded, not believing it was possible. However, Rafael kept his word. He graduated from university with honors, and he was immediately offered a good job. One of his favorite professors put in a good word for him. The company where Rafael started working was one of the leading construction companies in the country, which collaborated with other countries. Over the course of 2 years, Rafael traveled a lot for work, gaining new experiences, valuable contacts, and expertise. After his contract expired, Rafael left the company that had taught him everything he needed and started his own business. Initially, it was very difficult for the young man, and he was even ready to give up. But the thought of Ismira, to whom he had vowed to prove himself, often prevented him from doing so. Finally, Rafael's persistence paid off, and his business began to thrive. He started collaborating with new business partners, and together they launched their first major project, constructing a glass hotel on the roof of a skyscraper in the city center. Then there were other interesting ideas they brought to life: a ship-shaped hotel, an octopus-shaped hotel on the seashore, and a hostel inside an airplane. Many of these projects originated from Rafael's sketchbook, which made him very proud. This is how he became a wealthy businessman, admired by many young beauties, though he had little interest in them. Alvarado did not intend to stop there. He wanted to bring new ideas to life and travel the world. One evening, as Rafael was sitting in his favorite chair with a book, his business partner Victor called. They were the same age and communicated like best friends. They used to dine together often and spend weekends in interesting places, but then Victor got a girlfriend named Isabella, and he began spending most of his free time with her. This didn't bother Rafael at all. He took such things philosophically. "Listen, brother, we have a chance to reach a new level and make good money," Victor said, as usual, without greeting. He always got straight to the point, considering formalities a waste of precious time. How? Rafael immediately engaged. For him, business had long become an exciting game in which he would never pass up the chance for a new upgrade. One of the major foreign businessmen, Alessandro Rosso, is interested in our hotels. He wants to build something similar in his country. Moreover, he is extremely intrigued by your imagination and would like to collaborate with us on a long-term basis to create a couple more unique projects. However, after studying his history, I can confidently say that if he is satisfied, he won't stop there. So as you understand, brother, this is a big fish. We can't miss this opportunity. Excellent, Rafael replied. Did you tell him we're in? Victor hesitated for a moment. That's the thing, brother, there's a catch here, he finally said. What? I'm sure we can solve any issue. Victor cleared his throat. It's very delicate, he began. Alessandro Rosso has a fiancée. I'm very happy for him, Rafael smiled. And he is very, very jealous, Victor concluded. Rafael was momentarily stunned, not expecting this twist. What do you mean? He asked. As his assistant confidentially told me, Victor explained, Alessandro Rosso has a tradition. For business to go well, he periodically meets with his business partners. From what I understand, this happens almost every week. Oh heavens, Rafael groaned. Where will I find the time? Yes, Victor nodded. And that's why Alessandro is very interested in each of us attending the business dinners he organizes with a girlfriend. Better with a fiancée. Even better with a wife, Rafael laughed. As for me, everything is clear. Next week I'm going to propose to Isabella. Victor confessed sincerely. But what about you, an incorrigible bachelor? Rafael thought hard. Do you have anyone in mind? Victor asked cautiously. Not yet, but I will, Rafael quickly replied. Business always came first for him, and if he needed a fiancée, he would get one as soon as possible. Excellent. Then I'll tell Alessandro that you'll come with your beautiful dark-haired, blue-eyed friend. Rafael was taken aback. Why exactly like that? I think such girls suit you, Victor replied with a laugh. Maybe he's right, thought Rafael, and remembering Esmira, he sighed. In any case, arrogant blondes definitely don't suit me. The next morning, the first thing Rafael did was contact his assistant. I need you to find me a fiancée, he said without any preamble. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Excuse me, Signor Alvarado, the poor girl asked. Find me a fiancée, Rafael repeated. This needs to be done by the weekend. He hesitated for a moment as if wavering, then added, She should be a beautiful girl with long dark hair and blue eyes, and preferably poor. Just a girl looking for a job who doesn't aspire to be with a famous and wealthy businessman. Additionally, she should be well-mannered, educated, and articulate. That's all. The assistant was silent for a while again. But where will I find such a girl? She finally asked. Use all your connections and imagination, Rafael replied and hung up. Soon, he received a message from Victor on his phone. Alessandro Rosso is expecting us for dinner at 7 on Saturday evening. Magnolia Restaurant on Central Avenue. How's it going with the fiancé? Rafael quickly typed a reply. Excellent. The fiancé is in progress. On Friday morning, the assistant called to inform him that she had found several suitable candidates in her opinion. Do you want to meet them personally to understand who you will be dealing with, Senor Alvarado? She asked. Rafael decided it was necessary. He had to make a choice, and at the same time brief the chosen girl. He told the secretary he would be in the office in an hour. Please invite the candidates you selected by that time. Okay, the assistant replied. Exactly an hour later, Rafael was taking the elevator to his office. For some reason, his heart was pounding, but he managed to calm it down. After all, he was not expecting dates, but business interviews, even if with potential fiancés. Finally, the elevator reached the 12th floor where Rafael's office was located. He entered the reception area, and the assistant said that the first girl, Senorita Torres, was already waiting for him. Nodding, Rafael entered his office and saw a girl with long dark hair braided into a plait. She was wearing a gray suit, a jacket, under which a white blouse peeked out, and a long skirt. Black shoes with low, stable heels completed the strict outfit. The girl looked at him, and Rafael noted that the assistant had meticulously met all his requirements. His potential fiancée had blue eyes. He decided to make sure the girl could hold a conversation and spoke to her. Senorita Torres, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Rafael Alvarado. The girl stood up, and they shook hands like true business partners. In the process, Senorita Torres blushed deeply, which in turn embarrassed Rafael. Now, I will briefly introduce you to the matter at hand, and then ask a few questions, if you don't mind, he said quickly to hide his discomfort. The girl nodded. They sat down in chairs opposite each other, and Rafael explained the nature of the job she would be expected to do. Hearing his words, the girl raised her eyebrow for a moment, then her face returned to a calm and inscrutable expression. And now, if you don't mind helping me for a decent fee, we can proceed to a short interview. The young lady nodded again. It feels like she's mute, thought Rafael. Nevertheless, he began asking her questions about her current occupation, education, and favorite activities. Before answering, Senorita Torres took a long time to gather her courage, but once she started, she couldn't be stopped. Listening to her torrent of speech, Rafael felt disappointed. The girl stuttered. That's why she was hesitant to say a word, the man realized. When Senorita Torres finished, he thanked her politely and said he would call if the decision was favorable. The girl walked out, and Rafael invited the next candidate. She was a very attractive girl, but her cold manner of communication put the man off. The third candidate was also beautiful, but too tall for him. Rafael didn't want to look ridiculous next to his bride. The fourth girl seemed too plain to him, the fifth too naive and silly. In the end, Rafael didn't choose any of the candidates. Feeling deeply frustrated for wasting so much time, he went out to dinner. In the restaurant, the man couldn't forget that he needed a bride like air and unconsciously glanced around for a suitable candidate. There were many attractive girls around, but Rafael didn't dare approach any of them. He didn't want to make a fool of himself. If the press finds out, they will laugh at me, he decided. Moreover, this whole charade will quickly reach Alessandro Rosso. That would be a complete failure. With these gloomy thoughts, Rafael finished his cold dinner and went home. The next day, he woke up early. Restless, he paced back and forth, thinking about where to find an unfortunate bride. A message notification sounded. Victor had written to Rafael again. I hope you've settled the matter with the girl. Rosso is expecting both of us, read the message. Rafael didn't reply, deciding that if worse came to worst, he would say he was sick and simply not go to the dinner. He took a shower, got dressed, and went into the city for breakfast. Leaving his car in the parking lot, the man walked towards his favorite cafe, where they served very tasty French toast and croissants in the mornings. On the way, he suddenly noticed a public library, and remembering that he had no new books, decided to go inside. Of course, Rafael hadn't used libraries for a long time. All the books were ordered by his assistant. But because of all the fuss with the bride, the businessman had completely forgotten to send her a new list. This meant he was left without books for the weekend, which was like death to Rafael. He really loved to read. Moreover, due to the absence of a bride, it seemed he would have to spend the night at home. Of course, Rafael could have gone to any bookstore and bought the necessary copies. But the sight of the library suddenly evoked long-forgotten childhood memories. It was nostalgia, that drew him to the heavy doors behind which lived thousands of stories. Rafael pulled the door open and inhaled the unique scent of books with pleasure. He once again felt like a child standing on the threshold of new unforgettable adventures. Entering the hall, Rafael climbed the wide white staircase and walked into a room filled with many bookshelves. He started moving slowly along them, looking at the spines, completely forgetting about breakfast and other worries. The man was so engrossed that he didn't immediately hear a young girl in round glasses call out to him. Realizing that the new visitor hadn't heard her, she approached closer and repeated her question. "Are you looking for something specific?" the girl asked. Rafael started and looked at her. The girl had long dark hair, blue eyes, and a sweet smile. Nina Martinez read the badge on her white shirt. Rafael involuntarily looked her up and down. She was elegant and slim, wearing a short pleated skirt, funny white knee socks, and heavy army boots. The businessman began, completely forgetting why he had entered the library. "You," the girl smiled, patiently waiting for him to continue. "I was looking for books," Rafael said. "Oh, that's wonderful. You've come to the right place. We have many." The girl joked sweetly. "Maybe you have specific preferences." Rafael couldn't focus on the conversation. All his thoughts were consumed by the upcoming dinner. What if I asked this lovely librarian to be my date for tonight? I wonder how she will react, he thought tensely. He felt himself sweating all over. Oh, why wasn't he Victor? Victor would immediately use his charm to win the girl over and easily take control of the situation. Rafael was different. He always found it hard to meet new people. It turned out that even now, as a wealthy businessman, it was still difficult for him. "I love reading philosophical books," Rafael finally managed to say. "Wonderful," Nina smiled. "Then let me guide you to the section where Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato are eagerly waiting for you." With these words, she walked lightly along the shelves, and Rafael barely kept up with her. How does she walk so fast in those heavy army boots, he wondered. Finally, Nina led him to the shelves with hefty volumes on philosophy. "Here you go. Choose whatever you like, and I won't disturb you." With that, she went to her desk, and Rafael couldn't help but glance at her slender figure. He pretended to be choosing a book while desperately thinking about how to make the strange proposal that was swirling in his head. Finally, he picked the first book he saw and approached her. "Oh, Seneca, an excellent choice." Nina smiled broadly at him. "Are you already registered with us?" Rafael shook his head. "All right, then I'll take a blank form, and I'll need your documents." Rafael put down the book and took his driver's license out of his pocket. However, before handing it over, he looked intently at the girl. She raised her eyes in surprise, feeling his gaze. "Do you need something else?" she asked. "A special book that's not on the shelves?" "No, it's not quite that," Rafael admitted. "Or rather, it's not that at all." He got confused and felt himself blushing. "Then what is it?" Nina asked, slightly furrowing her brow and getting ready to listen attentively. Rafael took a deep breath. "I need your help, but it's not the usual kind. I'd like to invite you to dinner." The girl's eyebrows went up. "But it's not a date, no?" Rafael quickly added. Nina laughed. "Then what is it?" "Do you want me to read you poetry?" "No, it will be a dinner with my business colleagues," the man admitted. "Everyone will be there with their girlfriends and fiancés and I." "Oh, that's what it is," Nina guessed and quickly finished for Rafael. "And you have no one." "Exactly," he nodded with relief. Nina thought for a moment. "And when is this dinner?" she asked. "Tonight," Rafael replied. His heart skipped a beat. He was afraid she might be busy. But Nina smiled again. "Strangely enough, I am completely free this evening." Rafael felt relieved and very happy. "Great," he smiled. He inadvertently looked Nina over again. "Just, do you have?" It was again terribly awkward for him to say it out loud, but the girl guessed everything again. "An evening dress?" she asked. Rafael exhaled and nodded. "I think I can handle that," Nina nodded. "If you need to buy something, I'll cover it." Rafael quickly said, "Here's my business card. Just send me the necessary amount in a message, and I'll transfer the money." Nina took the business card and glanced at it. At that moment, Rafael's phone rang, so he didn't notice how the girl's face darkened in an instant. It was Victor calling. Rafael moved towards the bookshelves and answered the call. "Well, brother, you didn't reply to my message. Did you manage to find a bride or not?" Victor, everything is fine, Rafael answered quietly. I will be with you in the evening. Why are you whispering? Victor was surprised. I'm in the library, Rafael replied, and without waiting for a response, hung up. When he returned to Nina, she had already filled out the form. She handed it to him for his signature. At that moment there was not a trace of a smile on her face. She seemed to be remembering something intently. So, we're meeting at the restaurant in the evening, or should I pick you up? Rafael asked. Oh, that's not necessary, Nina replied. I'll take a taxi. Write down my number. Rafael nodded and entered the number she dictated into his phone. Then he took the book from the table and said, I will send you the restaurant address and dinner time in a message. Nina nodded reservedly in response. Rafael headed for the exit with a strange feeling that something had changed about the girl. But what exactly? He felt that the warmth had suddenly been replaced by coldness, and the friendly smiled by strictness and even severity. But what could be the reason? Perhaps the girl just needed to get back to work? Rafael shrugged. In any case, the task was done. He had found a suitable bride and could now go to dinner with Alessandro Rosso without worries. So why fret over trifles? If Nina didn't smile at the end, it didn't mean he did something wrong. Calming himself with this thought, Rafael decided to forget about the last unpleasant feeling and focus on the upcoming matters. He finally had breakfast, then called his personal stylist and scheduled a meeting. At the dinner, he had to look his best, he decided. Closer to noon, he received a message from Nina. She sent him a photo of a beautiful evening dress. It was bright red, and Rafael involuntarily imagined how good it would look on her. However, when he saw the price tag, the man coughed. The dress cost a fortune. Despite being more than wealthy, Rafael never allowed himself to throw money around recklessly. Most often, he bought the most ordinary things, went to trivial cafes, and felt perfectly fine about it. Thanks to his poor childhood, he knew the value of money all too well. Of course, sometimes he had to buy expensive items to look respectable in the eyes of business partners, and today was one of those occasions. So he transferred the required amount to the account Nina indicated in the message, and later paid for equally expensive shoes and a handbag. This girl decided to prepare thoroughly, the man thought. At exactly 7 in the evening, Rafael parked his car at the Magnolia restaurant. He got out of the car and glanced at his reflection in a bright window of a nearby store. He was wearing a light suit, a white shirt with a bow tie and leather shoes. Everything fit him perfectly. Rafael adjusted his expensive watch on his wrist and headed to the entrance. Victor and his girlfriend Isabella were already waiting for him at the table. Both looked more than splendid. Isabella was wearing a green velvet dress with an open neckline, and a pearl necklace adorned her neck. The girl had gathered her reddish-brown hair into an intricate hairstyle at the nape, so that several wavy strands fell across her face. Hello, friends, Rafael greeted the young man and woman. Hello, brother, Victor greeted him. You look great, but why are you alone? My bride will arrive by taxi any minute, Rafael replied. And where are Alessandro and his dear lady? They're delayed, Victor replied. There's a small traffic jam at the entrance to the city. Rosso wrote that he will be here in 3 minutes. Rafael sat at the table next to Victor, took out his phone from his pocket and texted Nina. Are you on your way? She replied, Yes. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Great. I'll be waiting at the table, Rafael responded and put his phone away. Victor said something to Isabella and then turned to him. Listen, brother, in our business dealings, everything has always been clean, right? We haven't broken the law or anything like that, he asked anxiously. As far as I know, no. But why are you thinking about this now? Rafael wondered. Victor nervously tapped his fingers on the table. I heard that Rosso is very picky about such things. He himself is extremely honest and demands the same from his colleagues and partners. If our company has ever been involved in any dubious dealings, he will immediately refuse to cooperate. Rafael thought for a moment, trying to recall anything. No, I've always tried to conduct business as properly as possible, unless there's something I don't know. Victor nodded. Then I think everything will go perfectly. Of course, unless your fiancée decides to ditch you. He laughed, but Rafael was not in the mood for jokes. He was looking at a couple slowly approaching their table. He had only seen the man in photographs before, and it was Alessandro Rosso, a well-known businessman and their potential business partner. He was a tall, middle-aged man in his 50s. His smooth bald head shone under the lights, and his stylish checkered suit fit him perfectly. Rosso carried himself with great confidence. Following him was a rather tall young woman, with blonde hair and big eyes with long lashes. A blue silk sheath dress accentuated her slim figure, and silver jewelry matched her light gray eyes beautifully. Rafael stared at Rosso's companion, not believing what he saw. He undoubtedly knew her very well. Alessandro's companion was Esmira, the same woman who had once broken Rafael's heart at university. Now he understood why Rosso was so jealous of his partner. This woman had always been flighty. When the couple approached the table, the men stood up to greet Alessandro. Esmira gave Rafael a languid look and extended her hand for a kiss. He shook it somewhat mockingly, unsure if Esmira had recognized him as she put on an indifferent expression. In any case, everything between us is long in the past, Rafael thought. Glad to see you all in this beautiful place, Alessandro Rosso said good-naturedly. My respects, Victor, Isabella, Rafael. Oh, Rafael, why are you alone? Where is your fiancée? Victor said you had come to dinner with a lovely blue-eyed angel. Rafael blushed, realizing that seeing Esmira had made him so nervous that he completely forgot about Nina. Collecting his thoughts, he was about to open his mouth and say that his partner would be there any minute, when suddenly he heard a soft voice. The blue-eyed angel has already arrived. Everyone, including Rafael, looked up. Nina was standing at the table. She wore a modest dark blue dress and simple black shoes. Her hair was neatly tied in a bun at the nape of her neck, and she wore long, shiny earrings. Despite the obvious simplicity of her outfit, she looked very good. However, Rafael expected a completely different effect. Why didn't she come in the gorgeous red dress I bought? He thought. Nevertheless, he stood up and put his arm around Nina. She exuded a coldness, but Rafael had no time to think about it. He seated Nina next to him and smiled at everyone present. This is Nina, my fiancée, he said. The girl smiled with dignity. Oh, she is indeed lovely, despite her rather restrained attire, Alessandro commented. I'm not used to luxury, Nina replied. Commendable, commendable, Rosso responded. Rafael smiled awkwardly. He didn't understand why Nina acted this way, but he knew that the only thing he could do was join the game, the rules of which no one had explained to him. Victor was watching him intently, and Rafael noticed that he also didn't understand anything, and was therefore worried. Alvarado tried to reassure him with a look, but he wasn't sure if it worked. The waiter approached, and everyone started ordering. Esmira ordered shrimp and champagne. Rosso supported her, and Victor and Isabella also placed their orders. What will you have, Nina? Asked Rafael. I think I'll go with plain rice, the girl replied seriously. Plain rice? Laughed Alessandro. Rafael, are you not letting your friend eat properly? Rafael blushed, feeling embarrassed. No, I would never. He caught Esmira's mocking glance and got completely flustered. Oh, he has nothing to do with it, Nina said with regal calm. I just watch my figure and try not to eat much after 6. Alessandro laughed good-naturedly as if he had heard a funny joke. I like this girl, he said. Victor joined Rosso in laughter, and the others started to smile too. She's still a child, Esmira said patronizingly, and Rafael felt irritation. Nina said nothing. The waiter brought aperitifs and light snacks. A business conversation started at the table, which the women listened to but did not participate in. When the men had discussed work matters, Esmira turned to Nina. So when do you and Rafael plan to get married? She asked. Nina shook her head. We haven't set a wedding date yet, she said. Oh, but why not? We're not in a hurry, Rafael quickly answered for Nina. Yes, you've always been quite slow, noted Esmira and subtly winked at Rafael. Alessandro looked at his friend in surprise. How do you know that? He asked, looking at Esmira suspiciously. My sister went to university with him. The girl lied. This unsettled Rafael. Esmira hasn't changed a bit, he thought, but said nothing out loud. The conversation smoothly shifted to other topics. Now Victor and Isabella were in the spotlight. After some time, the waiter started bringing the ordered dishes. There was a lot of food, and it smelled more than delicious. A modest plate of rice was placed in front of Nina, and she began to eat it slowly. Alessandro couldn't hide his affection as he watched her. Rafael saw that his friend had won the favor of their potential partner. Could he say the same about himself? Rafael didn't know. Sometimes it seemed to him that Rosso looked at him with suspicion. The reason was, of course, Esmira, who kept giving Rafael ambiguous looks. Nina noticed this too, but chose to remain silent. Finally, the conversation turned to the future joint project. Victor and Rafael took turns telling Rosso about their working methods, their ideas, and the innovations they planned to introduce. "This all sounds wonderful," remarked Alessandro, "and I like both of you. I'm almost ready to sign a contract with you." Rafael and Victor exchanged victorious glances. "However, my reputation is of utmost importance to me. I will never get involved with a company if I find out it has been involved in anything dirty. Can you guarantee me that my honor will remain intact and my dignity untainted if I start working with you?" Victor hastily swallowed his food and nodded. "Of course, we guarantee you that." Alessandro turned his gaze to Rafael. "Yes, we have never allowed ourselves to act dishonestly towards anyone," he confirmed. "What little angels," remarked Esmira. Alessandro was about to say something, but at that moment Nina rose from her seat. "What's wrong, dear?" Rafael asked, alarmed. Nina looked at him coldly and hostilely. "Are you sure you told Mr. Rosso the truth?" she asked rather harshly. Rafael was confused. "What are you talking about?" he asked. The table fell very quiet. "I'm talking about the fact that you haven't always been honest with everyone you've dealt with," Nina said clearly. Rafael looked at her, not believing what was happening. "Who did I deceive?" he barely managed to say. "My father," the girl replied. "A few years ago, your company decided to implement a new project and found a suitable location in the city center. But there was one small obstacle in your way, a little house where my family lived, and you decided to simply demolish it." A deadly silence hung over the table. Alessandro Rosso stared intently at Rafael. "Is this true, Mr. Alvarado?" he asked sternly. Rafael turned pale and sweat appeared on his forehead. "I don't know anything about this," he muttered. "That's a lie," exclaimed Nina. "You are the head of the company. You must know everything that happens in it." "But I seriously know nothing. I always personally check the place where construction was planned." "You're lying," Nina shouted. Tears welled up in her eyes, and grabbing her purse, she ran away from the table. Rafael wanted to catch up with her, but Victor managed to hold him by the sleeve. "Wait, brother," he said. Rafael stopped, looking at Victor. "I don't know anything about any demolished house," he repeated, looking his friend in the eye. "But I do," admitted Victor, lowering his gaze. "What?" Rafael couldn't believe his ears. "It happened 4 years ago. We were planning to build a hotel in the center. You took a short leave then because your mother was ill. I handled everything. Yes, there really was one small house. I offered to buy it, but the owner refused. So I bribed the police, and they forced the family to leave the house, giving them 3 days to pack. This man wanted to go to court, but our lawyers convinced him that it was useless to fight a giant company. We transferred a substantial amount to the owner's account to cover the costs of acquiring a new home, and after a while I completely forgot about this incident." Rafael looked at Victor with wide, horrified eyes. "You really did all this, and behind my back?" "How could you, Victor? I trusted you completely." Without raising his head, Victor replied, "Forgive me, Raf. I didn't think it was that serious." Alessandro Rosso began clapping theatrically. "Exquisite! What a dramatic scene! 2 business partners unmasking themselves." Saying this, he stood up and helped Esmira to her feet. "Dear gentlemen, I thank you for a wonderful dinner and ask to be excused. We must take our leave." With these words, Alessandro and his companion left with dignity. No one thought to stop them. Everything was obvious. "Well, I'll be damned," was all Victor could say, and Isabella sympathetically patted his hand. "Victor, this is absolutely not funny," Rafael said sternly. "I'm not sure I'm ready to continue working with you." With that, he got up and also headed for the exit. As Rafael was getting into his car, he felt someone's gaze on him. Looking up, he saw Esmira coyly watching him through the window of a car leaving the parking lot. In response, Rafael just shook his head. He took out his phone and sent Nina a message. "I'm sorry, but I really didn't know about your house. Victor just told me about his dishonest act now." The reply came almost immediately. I don't believe you, Nina responded. Rafael had no choice but to go home. He couldn't sleep for a long time and only calmed down when he firmly decided to go to the library the next day to talk to Nina. He woke up very early. He immediately got up, brushed his teeth, took a shower, and got dressed. There was still plenty of time before the library opened, so Rafael decided to take a walk. He strolled down the street, got a coffee, and drank it anxiously, barely tasting it. Half an hour before the library opened, he was already standing at the entrance. Finally, he saw Nina. She was walking down the street, lost in her thoughts. She was wearing a short green skirt, a white polo shirt, and the same army boots. Her hair was down, adorned with a green bow clip. Nina didn't notice Rafael at first, so he had to intercept her to get her attention. Seeing him, the girl was very surprised. "What do you want?" "I thought we said everything to each other yesterday." Rafael tried to take her hand, but Nina pulled away. "I just wanted to apologize again." "I'm telling the truth. I knew nothing about your house." Nina looked at him intently, not saying a word. "It doesn't matter anymore," she finally said, trying to walk past Rafael, but he didn't let her pass. "Wait a minute, I want to make amends." "You already did that yesterday. The money you transferred for the dress, shoes, and bag I gave to my parents." Rafael nodded. Now he understood why Nina came in her regular clothes. "But I don't want you to hold a grudge against me," Rafael exclaimed desperately. He himself didn't know why it was so important to him. The deal with Alessandro Rosso had fallen through, so he no longer needed a bride. However, something inside resisted the thought of letting Nina go forever. "I'm not holding a grudge," the girl replied dryly. "Then prove it," Rafael smiled. "Let me take you to dinner." "Another one?" Nina responded skeptically. Rafael finally managed to take her hand. "Yes, but this time we'll be alone." "And it will be a date," he said firmly and resolutely. Nina's eyebrows shot up in surprise. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. But why would a wealthy businessman invite an ordinary girl on a date? Rafael leaned close to Nina's ear. "Maybe because he simply likes her?" Nina smiled at these words. "All right, I'll give you another chance," she said, and skillfully slipped away, disappearing behind the heavy library door. Rafael went home. After changing, he went to the office where he reserved a table at a restaurant and ordered roses to be delivered directly to the library. Then there was a knock at the door. "Come in," Rafael shouted. Victor entered the office, still visibly embarrassed. "Rafael, I'm sorry for what I did behind your back. Now I understand that I cast a shadow over our entire company." "Good that you understand. Otherwise I thought something was wrong with your brain," Rafael grumbled. "I swear I'll never do that again," Victor said. "Please forgive me." "I'll think about it," his business partner replied. He was still angry at his friend. After Victor left, Rafael received a message from an unknown number. "You've become quite something. I'd love to see you," the man read. At the bottom he saw the signature Esmira, so she wanted to see him. At any other moment, Rafael would have felt triumphant, but remembering Nina's gentle blue eyes, he took his phone and typed a reply. "I think Alessandro wouldn't be pleased." After sending the message, he blocked Esmira's number and focused on his work. At exactly 6, he closed his laptop and went home to change and get ready. At 7, he was at the library door. When Nina appeared, he didn't recognize her at first. She wore a long golden dress and high heels, and her hair was beautifully curled and pinned up. When did she have time for that? Rafael wondered. "You look amazing," he said out loud. "Thanks for the roses," the girl replied. Nina took Rafael by the arm, and they walked to his car. He took her to a small restaurant with books on the shelves, and they had a wonderful, quiet evening at a cozy table. The young people talked about various things, reminiscing about childhood, sharing their hobbies, and discussing favorite stories. It turned out they had a lot in common. By the end of the evening, Rafael was completely enchanted by Nina. And the girl finally believed that the man had nothing to do with the matter concerning her home. The young couple began seeing each other almost every day, and after some time, they realized they couldn't live without each other. They fell in love, and soon Rafael proposed to Nina. A few months later, they got married and went on their honeymoon. Since both loved books, they decided to travel to different countries, where famous writers had lived, and visit the places they once frequented. The trip was successful, and brought the young couple even closer. Now they knew almost everything about each other and loved each other with all their virtues and flaws. After returning from their honeymoon, Nina immediately moved into her husband's apartment, and in the evenings they would sit together on the couch and read books. It was a quiet time filled with love and happiness. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.